Alright, what's going on, everybody? This is Gematria Gaming. It's a little bit of a late stream tonight, but I actually wanted to do a little, I don't know, off-the-cuff kind of stream here. I wanted to also make sure that my audio was not being fucked with, because that tends to happen sometimes with YouTube for whatever reason. So let's just take a look here, make sure everything's good. Yeah, alright, so we're good. I can hear myself. Alright, so anyway, what I wanted to talk about real quick was in light of the new rocket that's going to the moon, right? So yeah, look at this. It's total, just this is total mockery. This is okay. So let's talk about what they're doing. So it's a 322-foot rocket. Okay, look at this, guys. So this is the new. It's to the moon. NASA tests new rocket 50 years after Apollo. So when was the Apollo rocket? That was. Let's see. Does it have the date? They make up so much shit. It's kind of funny. Yeah, so it was a 28-foot rocket. But when was it launched? Probably should go to Apollo program. Here we go. Okay. Yeah. So the Apollo 11, October 11th was Apollo 7. December 19th was its last flight. Okay, so yeah, so this is what they're saying. So it's 50 years after the last flight that Apollo 17 had. So they've got a new rocket, right, that's coming out. And years late and billions over budget, NASA's new moon rocket makes its debut next week in a high-stakes test flight before astronauts get on top. So they're testing it, right? But again, 322-foot rocket, okay? So, like, we use Gematria, which I haven't pulled up Gematria in a second here, but, I mean, 322 is just the ultimate, like, in-your-face, number, right? So you've got the military-industrial complex, 322. I know that we've also got, where is it? If we look at the more reduced, the more full ciphers. So let's take out the reduction and the reverse reduction. Yeah, so you've got military-industrial complex, and again, what is NASA? It's all part of this giant propaganda machine. Yeah, just 322, right? And I think you have what, your Yale Skull and Bones? Oops. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. The Yale Skull and Bones. There we go. Yeah, it's 267. Maybe it's with the ampersand. Yeah, 205.47. So anyway, giant, just ritualistic number for 322 feet tall. And they're saying that they're going to bring it to, take it up to the moon, right? So it was George Washington University Space Policy Institute. They've got this guy. So they're all Jesuits, right? And then NASA, right? So let's talk about NASA real quick. So NASA is known as the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, right? And you look at their gematria. Kind of funny. They've got a 666 in there, which again, it doesn't mean anything, but it is kind of funny. I'm sure that that's by design. And then NASA itself has gematria of 35, 8, 73, and 28. And so yeah, if we look at like it's funny because the whole thing about NASA, right, is oh yeah, going to space and these planets and all the million different galaxies, like that James Webb Space Telescope, total bullshit, right? I mean, if you believe that stuff, I'm sorry, but you're absolutely ridiculous. You know that they they used the same picture that the Hubble took, and it was like an enhanced version. They're like, oh my god, can you believe this? But anyway, uh, to get my thoughts straight on this. So here's what's funny about uh, the going kind of in line with NASA is the institute that names the planets, right? Uh, it's who names the planets. Da-da-da. Okay, why can't I find it? It's like a institute that names the planets. And it's not UCLA. It's it's based out of France, actually. Yeah, here we go. It's this right here. The International Astronomical Union. So the IAU, which they've got like a really weird kind of logo too, because it's the French spelling of the or French like pronunciation of the union is actually behind it, but you can see it's reversed. So that's like a little code that they have in there, I'm sure. But yeah, the IAU. So it's the International Astronomical Union, based out of Paris, France, right? So that's a big, giant Jesuit place right there. And again, they were founded on July 28th, 1919. And let's look at the gematria that these people have. Right, so you've got 365, right? Like how many days they say there supposedly is in a year, or that's how many days it takes for the Earth to supposedly revolve around the sun, right? 184, 140. So this place right here, they are the union though that like pretty much said, okay, this is what we're gonna name all the planets. And I mean, all the planets are named after Roman gods, right? Which, again, leads to Jesuit, Pharisee doctrine. They're named after fallen watcher angels. That's what the Roman Titans were, right? They just adapted what was already established by the Book of Enoch and by Jubilees and by Genesis and tried to make their own thing out of it. But yeah, so they've got members from 82 countries, right? Let's see. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. They're from 102 countries. 81.7% of individual members are male. Like they just got really weird numbers going in with them. Again, 102, right? Using gematria, there are 102 countries. Again, that's a huge, huge number to the Jesuits. Yeah, I mean, so they don't they definitely don't discriminate. But so it's funny because the this supposed new rocket that they're having. It's called Artemis, which Artemis, I believe, is another Greek god, right? That's for the Let's see if they've got. Yeah, so Artemis is the goddess of nature, childbirth, wildlife, the moon. Okay, so like you know what I'm saying? They throw it right in your face, like, oh yeah, we're taking a rocket to the moon, and this is you know, sudden death, the goddess of sudden death. Okay, one of the 12 Olympians. So again, just fake Jesuit, fallen watcher angel names that they like to throw out there. Oh, and they even put equivalents in there. How nice of them, right? Oh man, this is funny. It's like kind of ridiculous how they try to just they try to tie it all together, right? But yeah, so it's the Artemis rocket, and again, if we use gematria, see Artemis has the 85, the 104. It's kind of funny actually for 85. And when is this? I wonder when is this thing supposed to actually launch? So does it say when? So Monday morning, right? Which will be the 29th of August. So the 29th. But yeah, I mean it's pretty funny how they use these same, like Templar has the same gematria, like a lot of the same gematria. Apollyon, right? They'll interweave it. Moon Man, which I think Elon Musk also has the same gematria as Moon Man, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but okay, so yeah, about like let's actually talk about like the planets, right, or space. So you know that they had the thing, right, called the space race. That's what it was back in the during the Cold War, right? It was a competition between the two Cold War rivals, the Soviet Union and the United States. It began on July 30th, 1955. Let's see, when did it officially end? Let's see if they've got an official ending date of it. Yeah, I guess it probably ended when Apollo 11 took off, and supposedly went to the moon, right? So, but the space race, okay, so the Cold War rivalry between the U.S. and Russia, again, space race, 35, 55, 172, 71, gematria. So it's not really a mistake that you've got 35 in space race and 35 in NASA. And again, with like the, how many meters did they say? Was it 89 meter, 322 feet? It's just, oh man. I think with gematria as well of 55. Yeah. They definitely, yeah, numerology. Fibonacci has a gematria of 55. So, they definitely know what they're doing. Again, space, same thing, right? Has a gematria of 28. So, I mean, all these words kind of flow in together. Space and NASA share gematria of 28. And it's actually kind of funny that space race is 172 while NASA's full name is 171. So it's funny how they give that to you. And so anyway, what was this, right? Like the space race, the moon landing. There's a bunch of 201s on the moon landing. It happened on the 201st day of the year. We know that that's what the Jesuit order. Neil Armstrong, Neil Alden Armstrong, his name equals 201. All right, so Neil Alden Armstrong. His name is 201 and 84 and 285. and a 105 as well. So yeah, I mean, it was realistically it was all a giant ritual. It was all bullshit, right? Um, but here's what's funny about when they talk about space, right? So did you know that they actually redefined what space is? And if you don't believe me, let's look this up. So scientists redefine what space is. And let's see where this was. Or I guess I should say, scientists redefine how large the stratosphere is. Let's find this here. Yeah, they're redoing how far away the actual stratosphere really is. Oh man, let's see. Or they redefine like where space starts. And I mean, it's hard to find this kind of stuff because they actually they will try and censor it, right? Like they try and make it as hard as possible to find this information. But it's definitely a real thing. Let's say begins. Let's see if it says no. Let's talk about like interstellar space, which let's talk about if they redefined where outer space is. I think that's what it was. Yeah, here we go. The redefining the whatever line. So please read. Okay, so I put outer space in quotes because a debate quickly ensued to whether actually reach outer space. So they've actually said that they're going to redefine where outer space begins, and it actually is going to start past the moon, right? So let's see if they have where space begins past the moon. It's so funny how they'd make it so hard to find, like, and they got a lot of stuff about the Artemis. But let's talk about oh man. It's funny. I've found this article before as well, and like it's just like you can't find it anywhere. So I mean, if somebody could find it, that'd be great, and like link it down in the comments. I'll pin it. I'll pin the comment. But there's definitely like they've redefined where space starts, and it's like we may have never visited space, right? And that's just like it's like a really weird thing. Oh, here we go. Yes, here it is. Okay, there we go. So it says if this space study is right, humans have never left Earth's atmosphere. So They were redefining the atmosphere. I'm sorry. Gosh, I finally found it at least. Um, but yeah, so but yeah, it's like you really can't even find it. It's so funny. I'm glad I found it though. But yeah, so a new study from space physics redefines the boundaries of our planet, based on overlooked data collected at the end of the last millennium. Uh, the Earth, the edges of the atmosphere actually extend more than 391,000 miles, about twice as far as our moon. Okay, so what that means is that they literally are saying like, oh well, yeah, because this is what science does, right? Science is bullshit. Scientism is a false religion, and if you don't believe me, like literally, this is what science is. People that trust the science, right? It's literally, it's literally uh, it's a religion. It's a bullshit religion. Um, but I mean, it's the philosophy of science, right? So scientism, people are like, hey, scientists know it all. We trust the science, but scientists don't ever agree with each other. First of all, okay, all that's ever pushed is a agenda. And the news networks, the cabal, the Pharisees, the Jesuit order, whatever you want to call them, they all have the same goal, right? Which is to get everybody to not be on the same page, right? To get everybody to not want to know the truth, and they constantly come back and they say, "Oh yeah, well we were so sure about this theory. This theory was just 100% locked in, dialed in. You've been indoctrinated with it. You got taught it in middle school, elementary school, whatever." And then they'll turn around and be like, "Oh yeah, so we were wrong," right? So that's what's funny is they can just redefine whatever, right? Like at a drop of a hat, like with the coronavirus, they're like, oh, it's one mask that you need. Okay, now really you should wear two. Okay, but if you wear two masks and then a cloth mask over it, and if you get your first booster and your second booster, make sure you get your third booster as well, right? I mean, this is all the same shit that nothing changes. There's like Ecclesiastes says, there's nothing new under the sun. This is all the same kind of BS we've been dealing with forever. But it's just funny because they literally will use all these crazy big equations and numbers and schematics and formulas to try and justify their bullshit. But at the end of the day, it's bullshit, because then they can just turn around and be like, oh, yeah, well, we had a comma off somewhere in the 15,000th paragraph of the, equation, and somebody sneezed while they were writing it on the chalkboard. Einstein fucking was having a, bad day that day because his wife wouldn't fuck him. You know what I mean? So don't believe any of it first and foremost. That's just my personal opinion. But you can read this and see, but I don't even need to read it because we know it's bullshit, right? So they're like, okay, well, actually, we've never been to space, even though the space race and Neil Armstrong walking on the moon and NASA and the Artemis rocket that's named after this Greek goddess of sudden death and the goddess of the moon. Like, I mean, they really do just kind of fuck with you. You know what I mean? It's for me, I'm like, whatever. I don't really follow any of it anyway, but it's kind of interesting. So anyway, to get to the point though of what this is all about, and I just was inspired to do this because of this 322 foot rocket, 322. It's funny. Is that like we actually like if they can just define what space is and how we've never been to space, guys, the space isn't even real. Like this picture that they're using right here in this headline, it's not a real picture. Okay, like it's. Do you know that they can't even define what the shape of the Earth is? Like literally, can they define what the shape of the Earth is? And oh my gosh, yeah. So they always just lie and lie about it, right? So they're like, oh well, actually, it's we thought it was like this, but it's more like a sphere, or it's an egg shape, or and then the other one that's funny is they'll say, well, it depends on where the moon is at because the moon, the gravity of the moon attracts the water on all the oceans, and it starts drawing, and the Earth gets a little misshapen because of the, I mean, guys, they're lying to us, right? And this is actually very interesting. I'm glad that this actually came up because Isaiah 40:22 actually talks about this, and Isaiah does kind of define this, and the Bible will always be able to back itself up, right? So let's talk about Isaiah 40:22. All right, so it says here in Strong's that he sits enthroned above the circle of the earth. Its dwellers are like grasshoppers. He stretches out the heavens like a curtain and spreads them out like a tent to live in. So that's obviously hearkening back to the tabernacle, right? The original tabernacle that was built, giving the dimensions and everything to Moses, because that's what it's supposed to represent, the heavens and the earth, right? Again, when we talk about the heavens and the earth passing away in all of Scripture, they're talking about the temple, not about the actual heavens and the earth. But so we can see here that he says he sits enthroned above the circle. So this name, or this word, I should say, right, chug, right? Proverbs 8:27 and Isaiah 4:22 say it is the circle, and it probably also in Job 22:14 as well, because he's talking about being above. So wehug would be above the circle of heaven. So it's only ever used 3 times in Scripture, right? But it's affirmed that so there's a word for circle, right? Now check this out. Isaiah 22:18, okay, in Strong's. Well, actually, okay, let's go to 22:17. So it says, "Look, O mighty man, the Lord is about to shake you violently. He will take hold of you, roll you into a ball, and sling you into a wide land. There you will die, and there your glorious chariots will remain a disgrace to the house of your master." Well, look at this. There's an actual word for the word ball, right? And it's only ever used in Isaiah to mean like a ball. It's also used in Isaiah 29:3, but it's not even the same usage because it's talking about being like all around. So they're saying kadder, but this actual usage to be like a ball, again, it's funny because like if they wanted to, right, in Isaiah 40:22, they could have used the word ball if that's what the earth was, right? If it was a sphere, right? But there's not even there's even a word in the New Testament for sphere, and it's really not even the word sphere. It's actually more meaning like the area of, right? So yeah, like a rule of conduct or a doctrine, a measure, defined area. So I mean, there's not even really a word for that. It really just means like within the proximity or the area, and a rule of conduct. So they're talking about like almost like a sphere of influence, right? So we can only then, like using Scripture, verify, okay, well, then the earth is not a ball. It's not this globe that they somehow, just can't quite figure out what the shape of it is either. And they can really easily redefine what the atmosphere is. Okay, yeah, the Earth's atmosphere somehow stretches out twice as far as the moon is. Really? You know what I mean? So it's kind of funny that it doesn't make any sense really. Um, at the end of the day, and again, NASA, just the a giant fake place, based out of the John F. Kennedy Space Center and Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. And who knows who the Vandenbergs are? I'm sure they're some kind of Jesuit expats from the Russian steppes, and of course they're headquartered in Washington D.C. And again, let's not forget about this IAU place that defines the name of all the planets that are based out of Paris, France, the Jesuit headquarters. But even on top of that, so I actually have some notes here that I wrote down, and it's funny because we can use Scripture to actually find out like what's really going on, right? And actually, in the book of Jude, 1:13. So check this out. It says, "They are wild waves of the sea, foaming up their own shame, wandering stars for whom blackest darkness has been reserved forever." Okay? So, this is actually quoting the book of Enoch. Because in the book of Enoch, the planets, right, there's 7. Again, it's funny because they always will take Pluto out and add it back in as a planet because it depends on how they feel that day. But if you include Earth, not including Pluto, I'm sorry, if you exclude Earth and exclude Pluto, there's 7 planets, right? With Earth, that's the 8th planet, and then if you want to include Pluto, because I guess sometimes you can do that if you want to, there's 9. But it even verifies in the book of Enoch that it's 7 wandering stars, right? And here's the thing about this too is that they use the word for wandering. That word wandering is planetai, where guys, that's where the fucking word planet comes from. When they want to call it a planet, right? But it means wandering. It's only ever used in the Bible one time. Planetes, planets. You see how they they throw it right in your face, guys. Right? Oh yeah, the planets, the other planets, right? Well, okay, they're wandering, and they're wandering stars, and actually the book of Enoch verifies that by calling them the. Let's see. This is gonna be fun. So look at this. All right, and Jude, the book of Jude also refines this as well. But anyway, so Enoch's traveling. He's going to a journey in the center of the earth, right? And he's being led by angels. And guys, I mean, this is the biggest thing about the book of Enoch is there is some really like fringe out there stuff. But as a professing Christian, if I'm going to sit here and say that I believe in every word of Scripture, and I do believe that the book of Enoch is inspired Scripture, it's inspired word, I think it is, it should be in the Old Testament. I think it should be the first book of the Bible. Then I have to also accept what it is saying, because it's what it says pretty much is that the earth is maybe not flat, right? I'm not a flat earther, but it is discus shaped, and it's encircled by what Antarctica would be. Which, if you want to talk about Antarctica, did you know that there's a treaty that you're not allowed to go to Antarctica? Are you allowed to go to Antarctica? Right? And again, you cannot go to Antarctica. No one is allowed to go to Antarctica because of the strict guidelines that have been put in place. Many countries have set up travel restrictions and quotas. If a tourist is caught traveling to the south of the country, for example, that person could face severe punishment. There's also a ban on people going to the Antarctica using private airplanes. There's also a ban on the international use of planes as well as cruise ships. The reasons for these travel restrictions and quotas are due to the danger that is present in this region. It's so dangerous, guys. You can go anywhere else on Earth. You can go to where the giant fucking typhoons and the tsunamis and volcanoes. I mean, you can go to Hawaii right now and walk up to the rim of an active volcano or dormant volcano, but you're not allowed to go to Antarctica. Yeah, there's a reason why, and it's because if you got to Antarctica, you'd see that we're all being fucking lied to about what it is and what the Earth actually is. And again, the Book of Enoch actually perfectly maps out what the Earth looks like and where the actual middle part of the Earth is, which would be the North Pole. That's actually the center of the Earth, the navel, as they call it, and that's where there is an entrance to the inner part of the Earth, because all that's inside the Earth, guys, is a shit ton of water. There is empty chambers, and then there is some magma chambers, obviously. But you can't get there now because after the flood happened and it froze over, what is now the North Pole, underneath that is where the entrance to the inside of the Earth actually is. And again, this is all said by the Book of Enoch. It's the oldest book ever written, it's the oldest recorded written thing ever. So it predates anything that anybody wants to try to say, all the cuneiform tablets, and no, okay. But anyway, so he's in the center of the earth, and he goes to the south, and it was burning day and night, where there were 7 mountains of precious stones, 3 towards the east and 3 towards the south, which means that there was one in the middle. And I saw, okay, so check this out. And the middle one reached to heaven like the throne of the Lord of Stibium, and the top of the throne was sapphire. And I saw a burning fire, and what was in all the mountains. And I saw a place there beyond the great earth. There the waters gathered together. So this is where the waters came from during the great flood. People think that it rained and that's what caused the flood. No. If you read what happens in Genesis, there was a deluge, but the earth actually opened up and waters started coming up from the earth as well. And that's where the waters were gathered. I mean, he's literally saying it right here. There the waters gathered together. And so they sit inside the earth, they came up, and then they went back down. And I saw a deep chasm of the earth with pillars of heavenly fire, and I saw among them fiery pillars of heaven which were falling. So they're falling, they're coming downward. And as regards both height and depth, they were immeasurable. And beyond this chasm I saw a place, and it had neither sky above it, nor the foundation of earth below it. There was no water on it, and no birds, but it was a desert place. And a terrible thing I saw there, 7 stars like great burning mountains. And like a spirit questioning me, the angel said, "This is the place of the end of heaven and earth. This is the prison for the stars of heaven and the host of heaven. And I saw the stars which roll over the fire. These are the ones which transgressed the command of the Lord from the beginning of their rising, because they did not come out at their proper times. And he was angry with them and bound them until the time of consummation of their sin, the year of mystery." So, I mean, literally right there, it's saying that these are the stars that transgressed the command of the Lord from the beginning, because what did God say about the stars? Right? Well, I mean, it's right there in Genesis. Firmament, evening, the grass, yep, okay. Okay, so right here, it's in Genesis 1:14, and God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to distinguish between day and night, and to mark the seasons and days and years, and let them serve as lights in the expanse of the sky to shine upon the earth." And it was so. God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, right? So the sun, and the lesser light to rule the night, the moon, and he made the stars as well. God set these lights in the expanse of the sky to shine upon the earth, to preside over the day and the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, morning, the fourth day. So, what's interesting about that is he said that it was good because he had set them in their place to divide the day from the night, and also to be for signs and for seasons, right? Again, for signs and for seasons and for the days of the year. And actually, if you look at in Strong's, all it really said was that it was to mark the seasons and days and years. So if we look at the original Hebrew, it does say right here that they were for signs and seasons, for days and years. So this word, oth, is a sign. Now, people will construe that, right? They'll misconstrue that to mean that, it's about the astrology. No, that's not what it's about at all. What it's saying is it's a sign for the seasons, right? Because they all have a set path. The stars never change, right? As they revolve around the earth, okay, that's how we know what season we're in, because of the stars. However, there are the 7 stars that wandered, and that's actually what they, that'd be the 7 planets, okay? So, and again, it was talking about that he was in the Great Chasm, right? And there was a terrible thing that he saw there. So it was something terrible. It was scary. It was 7 great burning mountains. And again, in Jude 1:14, which is kind of funny because Genesis 1:14 talks about the signs for the stars, for what they're meant to be. And then Jude 1:13 says, right here, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, the wandering stars, to whom the gloom of darkness to the age has been reserved. So, it's kind of funny that it's talking about them being in there. So it's directly referencing the book of Enoch. And again, the word is planet. Like, so they throw it in your face. They're not, guys, this is just, once you realize, like, the truth of what this is all saying, I just laugh. Like, people are like, oh, these rockets and the SpaceX and the... Have you ever seen how fake they are, how CGI they are? And you know how people will record these SpaceX rockets because they're like, wow, look how crazy that is. And you ever notice that it's just traveling in an arc above us? It's not shooting up anywhere. It's traveling in an arc across the sky because it can't leave. Okay? None of them have ever done it. Jeff Bezos didn't do it. Sir Richard Branson didn't do it. Elon Musk never did it. But anyway, my own notes here also say modern scripture is, so there is some corruption in scripture. I've gone over that before. There's some Pharisee leaven, the translations. We've been given some false doctrine that's made it through to scripture, unfortunately. But so Amos 5:8. So watch this, okay? And but it's good because once you know, you can use scripture to actually like verify that you'll know what they're really talking about. So Amos 5:8. So, it says that he, right, speaking of Yahuwah, God, made the Pleiades and Orion. He turns into morning the shadow of death, and the day as night he makes dark. But here's the thing. Pleiades and Orion, that's not scripture. That's not a real thing, actually. So, this word, the Pleiades, well, guess what the Pleiades is? Yeah, so the Pleiades, known as the 7 sisters. Well, why? Because there's 7 stars. And this word, Kima, check this out. So, the word Kima is mistranslated as the Pleiades, as this is false, as constellations being named is something that the fallen watchers teach and is not what God teaches. The entire verse is actually stating that God created the 7 wandering stars, and the word that they're using for Orion, Yukasil or Ukasil, it's actually Hebrew for like a heavenly body. Okay, it's not a constellation. Okay, again, he never, that word is not a scripture. Okay, there's signs that he gave, but the constellations are not what was ever, it's not scripture at all. That's fallen angel, fallen watcher doctrine. Okay, they're the ones that gave astronomy to people. But it does mean a heavenly body, right? Kes'il. It's a heavenly body. So what he's saying in this sense is that he made the Pleiades, right? But this word kima, okay, so actually if you look up what the word 7 in Hebrew is, right here, it's siba, but that last part, that ah, that ah, right? So that denotes 7, and that's what this word is meaning. And also, it's like Si'eva, and it's a feminine pronunciation, and so the ma is the same as the va at the end of 7, meaning it's referencing something. But here's the funny thing. So that word ki, right? So it's saying ki ma, right? I mean, let's go right back to what this is. It's saying ki ma. Okay. Well, guess what? The word burning in Hebrew. Let's see. Well, I guess I'll just type in key. Yeah, look at this. The word key. It means burning. So, I mean, like literally this word that they're trying to say is the Pleiades. It just means the 7 burning wandering, right? The 7 burning. He made these 7 burning, which is the planets, these supposed planets. And Orion, well, no, that's talking about the heavenly bodies. So yes, the stars, right? And there is a different word, obviously, for the name stars, but this is saying in the context of all of the stars. So it's really funny how they will throw this though straight up. I mean, even in Strong's, it's saying that this word, it means the Pleiades and Orion, but that's not true at all. Matter of fact, the biggest red flag is the fact that the pyramids, the Great Pyramids of Giza, were aligned with Orion, right? So, well, with his belt anyway. So, check this out. The pyramids of Giza are aligned perfectly with Orion's belt in the year, whatever the year they were built. They weren't built in 10,450 BC, but they do align perfectly with Orion's belt, right? So that right there should tell you everything you need to know about how Orion is nothing to do with Scripture. So it's funny. And then it says, but he does turn the darkness into dawn and darkens the day into night, and he summons the water of the sea and pours them over the face of the earth. The Lord is his name. Again, it's saying actually here that that's what rain is, right? It's water from the sea. It was already existing. He made it and he pours it back down onto the earth. And I mean, they knew this back then, They knew that that's how this all worked. It's not like they're looking up at this at rain. They're like, "Wow, that's so crazy." There must be a god for rain because it's raining. You know what I mean? Like they would put that in for the Greek gods and the Roman gods and all these other bullshit, polytheistic pantheons. But they knew in the Bible, like, no, this is what happens. Like, it's the water from the sea. It's going up. God's bringing it back down onto us, and it just recycles. We're in just one giant recycling dome, people. Or firmament, discus, whatever you want to call it. But then the other thing that I noticed as well is that in Job 38:31, right? So check this out. Job 38. 31. There we go. So it says here, it's somebody questioning, okay, because he's talking about like the greatness of God, of Yahuwah. It says, can you bind the chains of the Pleiades? The chains, bind the chains? Well, no, it's talking about the talking about the 7 wandering stars. And actually, if you look in the book of Enoch, watch this. So he's reaffirming, and I looked and turned to another part of the earth, and there I saw a deep valley with burning fire, and they brought the kings and powerful and threw them into that valley, and there my eyes saw how they made instruments for them, iron chains of immeasurable weight, and I asked the angel of peace who went with me, saying, these chain instruments, for whom are they being prepared? And he said to me, these are being prepared for the hosts of Azazel, so that they may take them and throw them into the lowest part of, well, hell. That's not really what it would be. It'd be Sheol, and they will cover their jaws with rough stones, and as the Lord of Spirits commanded. But look where else you find chains. So, and I saw there the host of the angels of punishment, right? So these are the ones that are going to be doing the punishment to the 7 wandering stars, as they went, and they were holding chains of iron and bronze. And I asked the angel of peace who went with me, saying, to whom are those who are holding the chains going? And he said to me, each to his own chosen ones and to their beloved ones, so that they may be thrown into the chasm in the depths of the valley. And then that valley will be filled with their chosen and beloved ones, and the days of their life will be at an end, and the days of their leading astray will no longer be counted. He's talking about the fallen watchers and how their Nephilim, the kids because they came unto women and made Nephilim, they're going to be thrown in there as well. But actually, 1/10 of them were given as a portion to Gadriel, who would be the modern day devil or Satan. And it's kind of funny that he was given the 10th, because Yahusha, in the form of Melchizedek, was given the first 10th of everything good by Abraham. And I went over that actually in a different video. But yeah, so then it says again, and those who led astray the world will be bound in chains and will be shut up in the assembly, the place of their destruction, and all their works will pass away from the face of the earth. And then in the darkness and in chains and in burning flames your spirits will come to the great judgment, and the great judgment will last for all generations forever. Woe to you, for you will not have peace. So it's funny that Job is also saying, like, talking about the chains of the 7 wandering, because those are the again, the titans, right? The planets are all named after Greek gods, right? I mean, literally. They're all named after Greek gods. So Jupiter is named after Zeus. Mars is named after Ares. Saturn is named after Cronus, right? Neptune is Poseidon. Pluto is Hades, which I guess, again, if you want to include Pluto. And Uranus is Oranos. And they're Roman, okay, whatever. So Roman counterparts of the Greek gods. It's all the same bullshit, though. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then, of course, you have Mercury, right, which is named after Hermes. Venus is named after Aphrodite. So they're all given these fallen angel names, right? These fallen watcher names, because it all goes back to who the Greeks and the Romans actually served and what they believed in. Why do you think they came in and were complicit with the crucifixion of Yahusha, which is good for all of us? And why do you think they came and ransacked the temple, the second temple, to start the new covenant? Why do you think Yahuwah, God, chose the Romans? Because of who they were, how evil they were. They were pagans, okay? And again, that's all given in Scripture as well. But also, and then it says to loosen the belt of, again, it tries to say Orion, but really it means the heavenly bodies. And what does that mean, right? So it's funny because this is almost asking like a question that is like a not answerable one, because it's an oxymoron, right? Because the chains of the Pleiades were binded, right, to the 7 wandering stars. But loosening the belts, well, what does that mean? Well, that means like if Yahuwah wanted to, he could make the stars not follow their path. but he set them in their place to do so. It's just that it just so happens that these 7 burning didn't didn't follow him, and they transgressed against him. Um, so yeah, because again, this is an oxymoron, as the wandering stars are not bound, yet the other constellations are bound and do not leave their course. So again, it's kind of funny. It is for this reason that the 7 wandering stars are named after Titans in Fallen Water Doctrine, as they are the only stars not bound in place. And then again, we're talking about the IAU, the International Astronomical Union, and how they're bullshit, right? But yeah, so very interesting, and again, what the Book of Enoch really affirms, and this was all, here in the beginning. This is the oldest thing ever written. But yeah, look at this. So, and I went round to a place where there was nothing made. And I saw a terrible thing, neither the high heaven nor the firm earth, but a desert place prepared and terrible. So it's funny because Enoch he does a recapitulation 3 times of what he saw. And this is another recapitulation of it. And there I saw the 7 stars of heaven bound on it together like great mountains and burning like fire. Then I said, for what sin have they been bound, and why have they been thrown here? And Uriel, one of the holy angels, who was with me and led me, spoke to me and said, Enoch, about whom you ask, about whom you inquire, ask and care. These are some of the stars which transgressed the command of the Lord Most High. They have been bound here until 10,000 ages are completed, the number of the days of their sin. So, again, you can't really deny what we're seeing here, right? And what this is saying. And again, just all the proof that we're given of like, hey, the earth isn't what you think it is. Same with earthquakes, right? Have you guys ever wondered, like, with earthquakes, how people can kind of predict where they are going? So yeah, earthquakes, the reason why they work the way they work is because there's so much liquid inside the earth that when there's an earthquake, it actually creates these waves, right? And it's called a standing wave effect. And there's actually probably some videos of it in a wave pool. Pretty much, you can look at it actually. Yeah, so check this out. So there's these. It's a standing wave effect, right? And what it does is when the water starts hitting up against like the insides of the earth, it starts kind of moving back in on itself. And you see here how these waves start kind of going and getting higher and higher and higher. So yeah, this is what's going on inside the earth, okay, when there's an earthquake. And that's why people can actually predict where earthquakes are coming from. You can pretty easily follow fault lines and see the shockwave effect. Now, if the inside of the earth was, the core of it was this molten hot nickel, and it's so hot, but it's so liquid, but it's so dense. But okay, well, if that was the case, then there wouldn't be earthquakes, and you wouldn't be able to predict them going from one side of the planet to the other, right? And so it's just kind of funny. Yeah, a wave tank demonstration too. So look at this. So a wave tank. I should look up a demonstration. And again, stuff like this is like stuff that they almost don't want you to see. You know what I mean? Because God forbid you were to find out what makes the waves happen. Actually, let's look at Dutch Sense. He's got videos on his YouTube. And this guy, he's super like he's like very censored, because yeah, he's all about like proving how you can actually prove where earthquakes are going and stuff like that. but he'll show videos of this standing wave effect and how they can predict like where these earthquakes are going. Which again, if what they were saying about the inside of the earth and how it's spinning so fast and doing all this crazy shit that it's not really doing, if all that was true, then there would not be a way to predict these pattern lines, right, for earthquakes. And just bear with me, I'm trying to find the spot where he would be showing that video, because he shows it kind of often, and it's definitely a very interesting video once you kind of see like what it's talking about and how he's saying, hey, you can use this to predict when there's a big earthquake where it's going to go and how the shock waves are going to go. But let's see. I just want to show that real quick before I get off, because it is actually a pretty interesting video for everyone to see. And he shows it in most of his videos, but maybe I'm just going to have to pick the right one. Here we go. Maybe it'll be in this video. He usually shows it when he's trying to demonstrate like how he can predict where these earthquakes are going. Man, he's making it a little hard to find it. Oh, let's see. Maybe it's in here. I've found it before fairly easily. But yeah, if you look up how people can actually like tell what's going on with the water inside the earth, it's very interesting. Because I mean, these shock waves, it's not just like air hitting up inside the earth. You know what I mean? The shock waves have to come from something, or they have to be traveling through liquid. And they'll say, oh, it's magma and all that. No. So okay. So check this out. So this is a concentric wave singularity, and so this is like a spike. So you see, and then this is the standing wave effect that happens inside the Earth. So it's pretty interesting. Using this, I mean, it's science, right? Like science gave it to us, but really it's the laws of nature that God made, and it's there to show us and prove to us that like, hey, this is what you can actually discover about the world around you, by seeing, okay, this is how water reacts, right, when there's a seismic force going against it. And once it can't travel any further, it starts coming back in on itself. So, yeah, super interesting. But this concentric wave as well is pretty interesting. So, yeah, let's look up a concentric wave. Yeah, look at this. This is also what happens in the depths of the Earth with the water when a shock wave from an earthquake comes in. Watch this. This is trippy. Boom! You get that big spike that shoots up like right at the very end, right? And that's what hits up from on the under part of like where we walk, and that's what creates these big earthquakes. And essentially, it's just all the energy, right, and all these waves that are traveling through the middle of the earth because there's water down there, and they're compressing in on each other, and finally it just meets up, and boom! That's when you get these giant earthquakes, and then from there, the standing wave effect happens again, and they're able to track it. So, yeah, but no, we're going. How fast did they say the Earth goes through space? Okay, yeah, we're going 67,000 miles per hour, or 18.5 miles a second. That's how fast we're going, supposedly. Right? And again, they're saying that the Mars Pathfinder journeyed to Mars at nearly 75,000 miles per hour. Okay, Yeah, I'm sure it went 75,000 miles per hour, just like we're going, uh, you know, 67,000 miles per hour, because 67, that's such a good number, right? Um, again, using gematria, you can see the bullshit, right? Blood sacrifice is 67. Um, who even knows? Sirius is 67. Yeah, okay, because that's real. Um, oh man, it cracks me up. And I mean, here's what's funny too about the constellations is that, like, do you guys ever realize how stupid they actually are? Because, like, they'll go like to these great extreme depths to try and make like something that's not there out of these constellations. Like, it's like, no, dude, they're just stars that are given to us to define the seasons, so we know where we're at in time. Because they're traveling around the Earth and they never stop. They're always consistent. They're consistently in the same place throughout the year, except for the seven wandering stars, which are the planetae, right? Which are what the seven planets are supposedly, but they're actually named after Roman gods or Greek gods or whatever. But yeah, that's always kind of cracked me up about the constellations, right? They're so, oh no, for sure these are real, and it's like, no, you're just drawing lines between stuff. You know what I mean? And yeah, like they'll be like, yep, this is a total constant. This is how this works. This is the circles and the look at this one right here. We just drew some fucking random lines. All right. Well, anyway, that's all I have for tonight. I just had a little thought, little random tangent I wanted to go on, just to get the weekend going, I guess. I don't know. But let's see what happens on Monday with this Artemis launch and the 322-foot rocket, 50 years after Apollo and all that fun stuff. So, all right, guys. I'll catch you next time. Take it easy.